How's it going? Smiggles here again. Going to be doing a video today on controllers, both retro and modern. Basically, we're going to look at controllers over the years, how they've changed, how different configurations, where some were bad, some were good. And I'm going to give my own opinion on what I thought of different controllers. And if you don't like it, tough. Like, what can I say? But when you look at PC has always had, mouse, keyboard. Well, go back far enough, it's just keyboard. But mouse and keyboard have been, the two main peripherals to play games. But with your video game consoles, it's always been the main controller. Now, there were things like, even modern, like the Kinect 2.0 Kinect, the first Kinect. Sony had the same idea with their cameras. Even way back, we all remember the iToy. Remember how that was such a brilliant success? And we've had gaming mats, and we had with the original Xbox the Steel Battalion, the big ass controller that had like 60 buttons on it. But I'm talking about your basic controller and how it changed over time. And we look at other things as well. We all remember if we take a step away for a second, the Game Boy. And how the Game Boy was a revolutionary thing. You could bring a console in your hand around. You just put 3 batteries in it. It was 3 or 4. I think it was an original one. We just put a few batteries in it. Away you go. Like, the screen was green and black. Okay, fine. We'll put up with that. But when you look at nowadays, when you've got this, you got the PS Vita. You got analog sticks. You've got your D-pad. You've got another 4 buttons, another start and select. You've got, volume on the top, a touchpad on the back. If you'd shown this to people back in the day of the Game Boy, you'd be like, no, we'll never reach that. But at the same time, we didn't get to this point, even in handheld, very easy, because I have a few of the, I have the SP, the Game Boy SP and Advance and Color and that, but I actually don't just have them here to hand. But in the 90s, we had other things such as Sega with their Game Gear. Now, very simple design in terms of, you just got a D-pad, your AB, and, your start button. But these things were so prone to problems, and still are. Like, you have everything going in them, from the sound to the screen going fuzzy, and you have to end up opening up and replace parts in it. But at the time, they were very expensive because Sega wanted to cram an entire Genesis or Mega Drive, whatever, whichever region you lived in, into this. And it came with a price of 6 AA batteries. And this was long before the days of having a lithium-ion battery in, a controller or any handheld. Like the PS Vita has, lithium-ion battery in it and does the job. But these things, this was color, so it demanded an awful lot more power. But very expensive at the time, and Sega weren't the only people to do this. Of course, Atari came out with this other big brick, the Lynx or Linux, whatever you want to call it, which, up, down, left, right. And then this thing here, you had A and B on both sides of it, and then 6 buttons beside the screen there, which, when you actually hold the thing, it's not comfortable to hold it. Even like, I've got big shovel hands, and even still it's awkward to hold. And that's the same, six batteries as well, and color again. But these things, these bricks that were brought out were I won't say a fond memory, but we have to acknowledge they were there. But we go back to Nintendo now. Unfortunately, I don't have my NES. Is in my friend's house, but I have a SNES controller here. This is a third party one, but basically if you take 2 buttons away, you've got a SNES controller there. This is what we call like an aftermarket one back in the day with turbo. So as you see, you've got these switches here, each one color coordinated. So what would happen is when you're playing a game where you have to shoot constantly, instead of you know, doing that, you just write blue, turbo, and it would just fire for you. But you think about it, this, you know, fit in your hand. You know, we left behind, like from the NES and the Sega Master System, where square controllers were left behind. So we ended up now with this type of curve started to come into the market. And we see that then with the N64 controller, as we all know from those of us who would have played GoldenEye and... Oh, what's in that? Yeah. Oh yeah, there's memory. I'm gonna get that. 256k. And that was all you needed for memory. We think about it now when you've got gigabytes upon gigabytes on a card, and we were using 256k. Oh my god. But that was enough. It did us. So the N64, this analog here in the middle, you had your buttons on either side, and then on the back you had your generally your fire button. If you anyone who played Lilac Wars or GoldenEye would have remembered bashing that out. But it was an unusual controller because you held it like that or like that, or it was hard to find a happy medium to hold the controller and walk around, because if you were using this analog stick to move and you needed to jump up, and they were starting to think on the right track with this, and they were getting there, but not quite yet. So that was Nintendo jumping forward. Now we look at Sega. They started off with this little thing most people remember from the days of the Genesis or Mega Drive, whichever. You know, A, B, and C, start, up, down, left, and right, simple, and wires. Kids these days don't know the trouble of wires. When you'd trip up over a wire in your room and send the console flying across the room, and the thing was fine. You know, consoles back in the day were made of like Kevlar or something. You just could not break a console. I still have my original Genesis to this day. Thing never broke. So simple enough controller. Again, had a curved design. This was the start of this, trying to fit in your hand neatly. And then Sega also had their turbo controller as well. Same. You just press the turbo button and you can fire. Simple as. It was mainly used for games where you'd have to fire constantly. I keep saying that as a fire button, but that's what it was. It was when you had a game where you just, you'd have a blister on your bloody thumb if you didn't bloody have a turbo remote. But then we go to Sega Saturn. Sega Saturn, more buttons. More buttons is always good. Or is it? But and also the shoulder buttons on top, which was a new thing as well. Whereas you see the N64, we started to have extra buttons because games are more complex. We needed more stuff in them. Your simple D-pads were still a thing at this time. So then, when I say more buttons are good, no, they really aren't. Because Atari came out in the 90s with their Jaguar and gave us this. Look at it. Look. Like, if you include up, down, left, right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21 buttons. 21 buttons. What are you playing? Doom. You need 2 buttons. And it doesn't fit in your hand. It's a fucking disaster. Now I will be playing some games on the the Atari Jaguar. But look at this thing. Look at it. Like we went from even you look at this to this. At least you could at least get your hand around this, or if you're looking at the Sega, you can get your hand around that. Yeah, what the fuck is this? And people wonder, why did Atari go? The fucking right. But we had that. Now Sony as well. Can't forget them. The old PlayStation 1 controller, very simple. But I'm going to do a quick kind of comparison. You jump PlayStation 2. We had the introduction of analog and the Rumble, which was a thing that Nintendo did. Oh, we'll have a Rumble pack, and people thought that's stupid, but people loved it. Buttons on top, the back buttons got bigger with the PS2, but primarily very similar design. And I for one was never a fan of the PlayStation controller. I always thought it was too small. But it did the job. It was a solid enough controller for what it was. And same with PS2 with the introduction of your two sticks. And then we go wireless then with PS3. And yeah, most people have seen this anyway. So yeah, that was just, when you look at it, it wasn't really a big jump. And same with the PS4. The only difference with PS4 is you got the little touchpad here in the middle. So, I suppose Sony are saying if it's not broke, don't fix it. They're sticking with their design, and that's, it's good enough for them. PS3 controller I thought was okay. In terms of the buttons felt a bit, more solid and stuff like that. But with the new consoles, these things could take abuse. Like there's something rattling in there, but it's probably just a piece of plastic, but it still works. PS4 controller, I threw one off a soft object, but I threw it once and the thing smashed. Same with an Xbox One controller. The old controllers, you could fire them round, you could throw them into the sun, take them back out, they still bloody work. They're great. But then you move on, and then you have the next jump forward. I suppose we look at the GameCube, which started to really focus on where our hands are. You have, again, two sticks. You've got your back buttons, which I was never a fan of these because they were, quite clicky and quite weird for me. Anyway, but I did like it. As it fits in the hand, snugly, and you can reach every button. From wherever your hand is, you can reach every button, so it's fine. That was a problem. If you had to stretch over to reach a button or anything like that. So this was when the generic shape started to form, and we had that with. Well, we almost had it. Sorry, the Dreamcast, of course. Now, this was a bigger controller. So while you say, okay, your hands don't really fit round it, but when you look at the back, the two triggers are here. So when your hands are there, it works. And when you're holding it like this, you can easily get to the D-pad or the stick, and you can get around it. And they also had their little cute little memory cards that you just popped in. Damn it. Why can't I do things on camera? Again, eventually. This is just brilliant. Oh yeah, that was it. Yeah, it had a top. Yeah. Oh my god. Uh, yeah. So as you see, you had a two memory card. You could have a memory card there in the back. That was also, your memory card. I don't know, does it have any battery life left in it? I don't think it does. I think she's dead. Yeah. But it only takes a CR battery anyway, so it's easy to replace. So you pop that in there and you could have little, stuff coming up on screen. Generally it was just the Dreamcast logo would come up, or Sonic games and that used to utilize it, and other games have a little map and stuff like that. But it was a kind of unique controller for what it was. Like, they were trying to ram an awful lot into it. But from that, obviously Sega went, Dreamcast was a failure. So then we ended up going and seeing this new competitor come in, the old Microsoft Xbox. And when you look at it, you think, oh, well, okay, fair enough. But then you see they had the same idea. You have two slots in the top for your memory cards. Again, you hold your hand, your two triggers are right there. You can reach, every button from where you're holding it. So they took a lot of ideas from the Dreamcast controller and said, right, we're gonna, use that, make it smaller, even though it's a big controller still. But it was a good controller. This was probably my teenage years. I would have used this a lot, as well as my PC. I played PC a lot when I was a teenager. But yeah, this was my choice. And you say, oh, you're an Xbox fanboy, are you? No. Simply the reason why I had an Xbox at the time was I had the choice of buying a Xbox with a few games with the money I had, or a PS2 with no games. So, have a console where you can go home and play games on straight away, or buy a console where you sit and look at it. So it was an easy choice at the time, because, money is everything when you're a teenager. But then, of course, they arguably one of the best controllers out there that was made came to the 360. The thing was nice shape at the back, so your hand just naturally stuck with the shoulder buttons, two more shoulder buttons as well, or sorry, two shoulder buttons and then the triggers, sorry. And what we stick to this day with Xbox, your two batteries. But as I said in another video, these last longer than what PS4 gave us with their bloody battery. And a bloody nightlight on top of it, like fucking blinding you. It's like you turn it over, for fuck's sake, fucking. And then you cover it up because it's annoying you, and then you can't find your controller in the dark. So, it's first world problems. But yeah, Xbox moved on to this, and it was a solid controller. Like, it did quite well, and many people have the same opinion as me, as it was a very good controller of how it fit in your hand. And then they came on to your Xbox One controller, which they basically changed the D-pad, made the D-pad a lot better. These wear, I think, they wear a lot quicker than on the 360 one. Now 360 ones, when you get them, they have the little nubs on them, and the same with these, they had little nubs. But I think they lasted longer on this. So even these, as I said, PS3 and 360, you could throw these things around the room, bang, yeah, pick it up, it's fine. Like this one actually has a few scuffs on it, so it's been through the wars. Yeah. But then we came to the Xbox One, and I have a battery pack in there, because you just buy that, saves having to buy batteries all the time, but it does the job. So yeah, they kept the same design. It still fits comfortably in your hands, and that was the main thing. Like, things that didn't fit comfortably were annoying. That's why this bloody thing failed. Now there are things like Neo Geo, who had, well, I actually bought the Neo Geo X, this special edition that had you know, your arcade stick, ticky. But they had these, but the Neo Geo was very expensive. That's why I don't have an original one, because they were, you know, they're crazy money, and each game cartridge is massive. It's like a you know, VHS tape you're ramming into the bloody thing. But there was always, well, actually these were always around. You could get these for the PlayStation 1 and 2 and everything. You know, you could always get, especially for Tekken, you could always get one of these for Tekken. So yeah, that's it. Like, that's how controllers. Whoa, there's the Game Gear. That's how controllers have moved on. Like, we moved from these big chunky design. Well, actually, no, that thing can fuck off. We moved from things like this, where they were trying to get a design right that fit in the hand, and you know, we moved on. We got stuff that, you know, fit snugly. And even when you look at the handhelds, you know, we had big things, big beasts of things, and you know, now we have, you know, something that's so slim like that. And that's not even the slim PS Vita, that's the original one with the stupid charger, like micro USB, like it charges everything. But no, Sony had to have a unique one when they came out, and bloody memory cards. But still, you know, we've moved on to this with touchpads and big screen, you know, so you have to look at it and say, like, we've even in a controller, we've come a long way. And yeah, I just wanted to show off different controllers I had there, and so you could see the differences between them all. And you know, next time you look at a PlayStation 4 controller, and actually, well, I have the Wii U set up all the way down there, so I didn't want to go get it. But the Wii U Pro controller is very similar to the Xbox controller, except this analog stick would be up here, and then these buttons are a bit lower. It's very similar. It fits in your hand nicely, and the Wii U tablet, that actually works quite well. It doesn't get, you know, when you're playing the Wii U, you don't get like overburdened with it. Now, I was never a fan of the Wii, the nunchuck things. I was never a fan of those. I don't know. It didn't feel like you were holding a controller. It was, I suppose that was the point. You know, it felt like you were, because you were supposed to be standing up and bowling or shooting or fucking, I don't know, building an igloo. I don't know, like whatever games like you were doing. But yeah, so that's it. Like, just wanted to show you some controllers and differences between them, and how moved from the 90s through the noughties and now where we are today. So I hope you liked it, and give a like if you like it. Comment below, tell us what your favorite controller was. I have other systems and controllers up there, but when you go through like wires, all these wires and everything, and trying to pull stuff out, I'm in the middle of getting stuff set up and everything, you know, it's just a pain to try and get everything ready for a video and that. But hope you enjoyed anyway. I'll see you in the next one.